the little voice that changed everything. The sun hung low over the Wyoming plains, painting the sky with streaks of orange and gold. The wind whispered through the tall grass, carrying the scent of dust, leather, and distant rain. Luke Carter, known around the county as the Lone Cowboy, sat astride his horse, Dusty, gazing toward the horizon like he always did at sunset. He'd been alone for 5 years now, ever since Emily, his wife, had passed in childbirth, leaving behind a house filled with silence and a heart hollowed out by grief. He'd buried her himself, under the willow tree by the creek, and never once looked back at town since. The ranch was all he had left, 1,000 acres of open land, a small herd of cattle, and the ghosts of laughter that used to echo through the porch. That afternoon, Luke had ridden to town for supplies, a rare thing for him. He didn't like people staring, whispering, "That's him, the one who lost her." But the feed was running low, and Dusty's shoes were worn. He finished his business quick and was heading for his horse when he heard a small voice. "'Scuse me, mister." He turned, and there she was, a little girl, no more than 6 or 7, with tangled curls, a patched dress, and eyes the color of a summer sky. She stood on tiptoe, clutching a ragged stuffed rabbit in one hand and a tiny bundle in the other. Luke's brow furrowed. "You lost, kid." The girl shook her head, biting her lip. "No, sir. I found you." He blinked. "Found me?" She nodded solemnly. "You're the cowboy who lives out by the creek, right? Mrs. Harlan said you ain't got no family." Luke stiffened. "She said that, did she?" "Yes, sir." The girl stepped closer, her voice barely a whisper. "Well, I ain't got no family either. My mama went to heaven last week. And I thought, maybe, since you need a mom and I need a dad." Luke froze, her words hanging in the air like a thunderclap. "I thought maybe we could share." He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His heart, quiet for years, gave a painful thump. "Where's your pa, little one?" he finally asked, kneeling so his eyes met hers. She looked down. "Don't got one. Mama said he was a cowboy too. Maybe gone ridin' somewhere far away." Her innocence hit him like a bullet. Dusty stomped beside them, sensing his unease. Luke sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "You can't just walk up to strangers, kid. Town's no place for you to be wanderin' alone." She blinked, tears welling up. "I'm sorry. I just didn't know where else to go." Luke's jaw tightened. He should walk away. He should tell the sheriff, or the preacher, or somebody better suited for this. But something in her eyes, so blue, so hopeful, pulled him in. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. "Lila," she said. "Lila May." "Well, Lila May," he sighed, "how about we get you something to eat, huh?" Her face lit up. "You got pie?" A reluctant smile tugged at his lips. "Might be I can find some." At the diner, she ate like she hadn't in days. Every bite of apple pie vanished fast as a prairie fire. Luke watched her from across the table, feeling something stir inside him, something he thought had died with Emily. When she finally looked up, crumbs on her chin, she smiled. "You don't talk much, do ya?" "Never saw much reason to," he muttered. "Well," she said matter-of-factly, "guess I can do the talkin' then." He chuckled quietly. "Guess so." When they left the diner, dusk had fallen. Luke walked her to the sheriff's office, planning to hand her over, responsible, proper. But when they got there, Sheriff Hale shook his head. "She ain't got no kin left," Hale said. "Her mama was renting a room at the boarding house. They found her gone 3 days ago. Kid's been hidin' around town since." Luke looked down at Lila, who was holding his hand now. "So what happens to her?" "She'll be sent east," the sheriff said softly. "Orphanage in Cheyenne. Maybe someone'll adopt her." Lila's fingers tightened around his. Her eyes filled with fear. Luke felt something twist inside him. "Sheriff," he said slowly, "maybe she could stay at my place, just till someone comes for her." The sheriff studied him. "You sure, Luke? Ain't exactly company you're used to." He nodded once. "I'll manage." That night, the cabin came alive again. Luke made her a bed from old quilts in the spare room. She brushed her teeth at the sink, humming some tune her mother must have taught her. When he tucked her in, she whispered, "Thank you, Mr. Luke." He cleared his throat. "You get some rest now." As he turned to leave, she asked softly, "Do you think my mama can see me from heaven?" He paused, looking back. "I reckon she can." She smiled sleepily. "Then she'll see I'm safe." He stood there long after she'd fallen asleep, watching her breathe. Then he whispered to the quiet room, "Yeah, you're safe, little one." For the first time in years, the old house didn't feel empty. Where hearts find home. Morning came with golden light spilling across the ranch. Lila was already up, sitting on the porch steps, feeding a biscuit to the barn cat. Luke stood by the door, coffee mug in hand, watching her giggle as the cat purred. "Careful," he called. "He bites." She grinned. "Not me. He likes me." Luke couldn't help but smile. Somehow, the sound of her laughter fit here, like it had always belonged. Over the next few days, she followed him everywhere. Whether he was mending fences, feeding the horses, or hauling hay, she was there, asking 100 questions. "What's her name?" she'd ask, pointing at a mare. "Belle." "Why Belle?" "'Cause she's the prettiest one." "You think she knows that?" He'd chuckle, shaking his head. "Reckon she does now." Each night she'd fall asleep to the sound of crickets and the creak of the old rocking chair where Luke sat reading by lamplight. Sometimes she'd mumble half asleep, "Good night, Daddy," and he'd freeze, his heart aching and healing all at once. One afternoon, a storm rolled in sudden and hard. Thunder cracked across the plains as Luke rushed to bring the horses in. Lila, frightened by the lightning, ran outside looking for him. "Mr. Luke!" she shouted, rain soaking her dress. He found her near the barn, trembling. "Lila, I told you to stay inside. But I thought you might be hurt." He scooped her into his arms, holding her close. "I'm fine, kid. Don't you ever scare me like that again." She clung to him, crying into his shirt. "I don't want to go away. I don't want to go to Cheyenne." Luke froze. Her tiny hands fisted in his coat, her voice breaking. "Please don't send me away," she whispered. "I can be real good. I can help with the horses. I can." He hugged her tighter. "Hush now. You're not going anywhere." Thunder rolled, but inside his chest something quiet bloomed. Something he hadn't felt in 5 long years. When the storm passed, they sat by the fire. Lila curled under his arm, sipping hot cocoa. "Mr. Luke," she murmured sleepily. "Yeah." "Did your wife go to heaven too?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, she did." "Do you miss her?" "Every day." She looked up at him, eyes glimmering in the firelight. "Then maybe she sent me, so you wouldn't be sad no more." His throat tightened. Maybe she did. That night he didn't sleep. He sat by the window, thinking of Emily, of the little girl down the hall, of how life had found a way to sneak hope back into his heart. Weeks passed. Lila brought light to every corner of the ranch. She sang to the chickens, painted rocks by the creek, and made Luke laugh again. Then one morning, Sheriff Hale's truck rumbled up the dirt road. Luke's stomach dropped. He stepped off the porch as Hale got out. "Got a letter from the orphanage," the sheriff said. "They found a place for her family in Cheyenne." Luke's jaw clenched. "She's happy here." "I know," Hale said gently. "But law's the law." Inside, Lila stood in the doorway, holding her rabbit. "Do I gotta go?" Luke looked at her, at the tears in her eyes, the fear in her small face, and something in him broke loose. He turned to the sheriff. "No. You tell 'em she's stayin'. I'll sign whatever papers need signin'. I'll be her guardian, her father, whatever it takes." The sheriff smiled slowly. "Didn't think I'd have to twist your arm." He handed Luke the forms. "Welcome to parenthood, Cowboy." Lila gasped. "You mean I can stay?" Luke knelt, his voice soft. "You can stay forever, Lila May." She threw her arms around his neck, laughing and crying all at once. "I told you," she whispered. "You needed a mom. I needed a dad. Now we're both happy." Months later, the ranch was alive again. Flowers in the garden, laughter on the wind. Lila ran barefoot through the grass while Luke mended a fence near the creek. From the road came a wagon, one he didn't recognize. A woman stepped down, her auburn hair catching the sunlight. "Excuse me," she called. "I'm looking for Luke Carter. Sheriff Hale said you might need help with the school lessons out here." Luke wiped his hands on his jeans. "You a teacher?" "Yes, sir. Miss Clara Bennett." She smiled warmly, her eyes kind. "And you must be Lila's father?" Luke blinked, then smiled. "Yeah, guess I am." Lila ran up, waving. "Hi, Miss Clara. Wanna see my pony?" As Clara laughed and followed her, Luke felt the strangest thing, like the world was finally turning right again. That night, after dinner, Lila whispered as she hugged him good night, "Told ya, Mr. Luke. God sent me." He smiled, brushing her hair back. "Yeah, sweetheart. Guess he did." And as the stars rose over the wide Wyoming sky, the lone cowboy was alone no more.